It's an uncertain economic environment. People are stressed. We need back-to-basics management for tough times. We're going to look at 6 basic management skills which managers need in their toolkit. Our first management skill is to communicate and delegate, and we're going to take some advice from Peter Drucker, who's considered the man who invented modern management. Drucker thought that managers often just got in the way. In his philosophy, he recommended that managers ask themselves 3 important questions. What contribution can this institution hold you accountable for? What results should you be responsible for? And then ask, what authority do you need? Those are Drucker's 3 pillars of management: responsibility, accountability, and authority. To feel a sense of responsibility is to have an emotional connection with the task at hand. To be held accountable is to be comfortable with you being assessed for that task. Finally, to have authority is to have discretion to make the judgments necessary in order to complete the task. Drucker suggested that managers need to be constantly juggling all 3 things, making sure that they give them when they delegate a task, and they're given them when they are delegated a task. Our second management skill for our toolkit is a simple situational analysis tool. It's the SWOT analysis, a simple method for looking at where your team or business is at and where it could be going. Start by thinking about what your team's strengths are. Be completely immodest. What are you good at? Now we've been completely immodest, it's time to be humble and to honestly and realistically acknowledge what our weaknesses are. That's the situation at the moment. Looking forward, think about what opportunities there could be, or what things we could do in order to turn each of those weaknesses into opportunities. Lastly, list down the threats that you have for your team or business. They could be as broad as macroeconomic threats, like a slump in the business environment, or they could be things closer to home, such as the need to downsize your team, for example. The beauty of the SWOT analysis is its simplicity. It gives you a tool that you can use either by yourself or when you're facilitating a meeting. All you need is a sheet of paper with a line across the middle and a line down the middle. The third skill for our management toolkit is the ability to set goals. The SMART acronym is useful here in order to create quality goals. Is the goal specific enough that I can actually do something about it right now? Is the goal measurable? Is there a number attached to it, or is it merely anecdotal? Remember, what gets measured gets managed. Is it achievable, or is it just wishful thinking? Remember, if it's not achievable, it will be demoralizing. Is it relevant? Are we actually doing something of importance, or are we just working on something that seems urgent at the time? Finally, is there a time frame when we're going to stop and evaluate whether we've succeeded or whether we haven't succeeded? The fourth tool in our toolbox is to keep your staff motivated. This is Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and of course it was a model developed in the 1950s and attempted to explain what drives people to do anything and everything. It's usually the model which is brought out in introductory courses on management. But I think we'll skip looking at it too deeply because I think there's a simpler way of looking at things. Business consists of hard work, but if we set SMART goals, if we give our team honest feedback about their performance and we encourage functional teams, that hard work will be something positive and it'll feel like a sense of challenge. If we don't, the hard work becomes a burden. It's really that simple. Change management is the 5th of our 6 management tools. Of course, to most people, news of changes is generally a scary thing. We can take a lesson from this man here about introducing the importance of change. This is Al Gore, former Vice President of the United States and current climate change activist. In his film An Inconvenient Truth, Gore made the point that it's very easy, in the face of a massive change which is coming, to move from a sense of alarm to feeling despair. But what we need to remember is it need not be the case. We can move from alarm to action by increasing our sense of urgency and communicating constantly. Here's another simple diagram. If there's change that needs to happen in our business, and of course there will be a lot of changes as a result of these tough economic conditions, we need to remember to involve our team, to communicate constantly, to plan properly, and to not give up our implementation of the changes. That way it'll be an opportunity to shift gears and prosper. If we don't do these things, yes, it's going to be a nightmare. The last of our management skills to add to our toolbox is the ability to manage projects. Project management is when we organise and implement a one-off business activity within a given time frame and a given budget. Here's an example of a project poorly managed. The Sydney Opera House is one of the world's architectural wonders and a celebrated icon of the city. However, as a project, let's see how it fares. The original cost estimate in 1957 was £3.5 million, which is about $7 million. The original completion date was estimated to be January 1963. What happened was the actual cost was $102 million and the actual completion date October 1973. So how can we ensure that things don't go quite as astray as some projects typically do? It's the 3 P's of project management. Plan, plan, and plan more meticulously before you begin. So there's the 6 essential management skills for our management toolkit to help us get through these tough times. For more, why not consider Management Consultancy International's qualification programs for either you or your team members? We offer Certificate IV and Diploma level management programs. Check us out at www.mci.edu.au.